Hey guys, I'm back again, kind of quick this time. Got a phone call from a friend yesterday. She was asking actually different things about how to make a brisket, and I sent her to the video that I had done and realized that that video was about 30 minutes long, and that's when I cooked 3 different meats. So what I wanted to do was do a video just showing you how to make a brisket, because people overcomplicate brisket. Brisket is a tough piece of meat, but kind of hard to mess up, to be honest. I mean, like I said, a lot of people get pretty technical with it, and I just don't think that's necessary. Because I've done all the technical and all the wrapping and all the, injecting and all that different stuff. And what I'm going to show you is my simple way to do things. Has a nice flavor. I adapted this from a ribeye recipe actually, but beef is beef, so I figured if it worked good on a ribeye, it had to work good on a brisket, and I was right. Just going to show you guys how to do it. I could only find a brisket flat, and I think it's only about 3/4 of a flat, so not going to be a big brisket today, so it won't be a long smoke. But we'll show you my process, and I do the same thing on a bigger piece of brisket versus this one that I have, which I still think is 8 pounds, somewhere around there, 6-7 pounds. But gonna show you guys how I do things, and hopefully show you that brisket's not that hard. And if you do it, maybe you've done it a certain way, and you'll see my way of doing it. You can try it out. A lot of things that are unorthodox here, especially with the Coca Cola. But outside of that, I think my rub is pretty good. And not gonna do any wrapping. The point of the wrap is to, when you get to what they call the stall at 150 degrees, you want to get your brisket to 195, between 195 and 205. A lot of people get stuck at the 150 mark without wrapping, so they take it off, they wrap it in foil, they put it back on, a few more hours, and it gets to 195. But the problem with that is your crust gets very soggy because you have to put some liquid in there with the wrap. So I tend to get away from all that, but hopefully what I show you will work for you guys as well. Before the green egg, I had a Brinkman smoker. It was very hard to keep it at 225. Those are the things, if you can keep a constant temperature, that's what makes you a grill master, a pit master, whatever you want to call it. Keeping it at that 225 mark is the key to the good brisket here. But anyway, I'm talking too much. I'll be talking more through the video. Hope you guys enjoy. Hope I'm not squinting too much because the sun is out. But over the next 2 days, show you how to make a brisket here, and me and my family are going to enjoy it. Talk to you soon. And here we have our ingredients for the Coca Cola marinade. Of course, we're going to have the Coca Cola. Going to add 4 teaspoons of liquid smoke, and then I have my brisket flat, about 5¼ pounds, shrink wrapped and trimmed already, and also a pan to put everything in. And I will be adding about 2 to 3 crushed cloves of garlic as well. But these are all our ingredients. Very simple. So here we have our tenderized brisket. I used the tool there to the left to poke holes in it. And we also have now our liquid smoke as well as our garlic in the pan. And I'm going to go ahead and take the Coca Cola here once I can get it open. And we're going to pour everything in the one pan. No need to agitate anything. The carbonation and the just flow of the Coca Cola is going to mix in the liquid smoke and the garlic pretty good. No need to do any additional mixing per se. Larger brisket would take a full Coke, but this one took about half, a little more than half of the Coke itself for the marinade. And once I can wrestle the brisket from the packaging there, I'm gonna lay that down, fat cap up, so we want to put the meat portion, or meatier portion I should say, down in the Coke and the liquid smoke, and I want to get good coverage on the entire brisket there. And once we get the coverage there, we're going to cover this and let it marinate overnight. So I put this in the evening, evening, and took it out the next morning. So it got about 12 to 14 hours of marinade time. This is the next morning after 12 to 14 hours in the Coca Cola marinade. It's been soaking overnight. And we'll move on to the rub now that we'll be applying to the brisket this morning. So it starts out with a 1/2 cup of sugar, 4 tablespoons of salt, 4 tablespoons of garlic powder, 4 tablespoons of pepper, 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Gives a little spice, and everything melded together gives a great flavor and crust to the brisket after the 6 to 8 hour smoke. So here we are after I've combined all the ingredients for the rub. Everything's mixed in good. So just show you how I sprinkle it on here. And if you notice, I'm sprinkling the fat cap side first, and I'll explain more about that later. So the fat cap is top up right now when I'm beginning. So just spreading the rub on the brisket here. Want to make sure you get even coverage because again, this is your crust. This is what's going to look good at the end per se. So you want to be sure that it adheres to the brisket. And because I took it right out of the marinade, there's no need for me to add. Some people add binders like olive oil or some type of oil or even mustard or things that will help the rub adhere to the brisket, but just came out of a Coca Cola bath, so it was pretty soaked and wet, so the rub was sticking okay. No need to add any other kind of binding agent. And now we're flipping over to the meat side. So like I was explaining earlier, as I sprinkled that on there, started out on the fat cap side because I'm going to put the brisket on the smoker on the green egg, fat cap side up. So I didn't want to get all this good rub on the bottom where the meat is, where I really want the smoke and everything to go, and then have it stick to the foil once I flipped it back over. So strategically, I did the fat cap first, going to sprinkle this on, I'm going to let it set up, and then when I flip it over to put it onto the grill itself, I'll put a little more rub on the top side, because undoubtedly there's going to be some that sticks to the non-stick foil that I'm using. And just making sure I get all the corner. If you notice, I'm making sure all the sides are evenly coated, because again, this is what gives you the crust and this is what gives you the flavor. This is all the seasoning along with the marinade, of course, but very important step here. And we're going to let that set up, and again, notice I left rub for when I do put the brisket on the grill. Got a good cover there. Kind of look like I know what I'm doing. Alright guys, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the fire. I've done enough of these videos now. You guys should know how to set a fire by now, but got the 2 starters here. Got some oak and hickory laid out. Really going to place them around where the fire is going to be so that they smoke throughout the entire cook. So just got to spread it right now, but again, I'm going to stack them once the fire gets going. Once the fire is going, we'll put the place setter in. Please excuse the mess. I'll clean that off before we put it on. Put the grill on and set it at 225. Get it stabilized at 225, and then we're going to throw in the brisket. So just giving you guys the rundown. But basically that's how the fire is going to be set up, just to let you know. Alright guys, here we are. Getting ready to throw the brisket on. I just want to point out 2 things. I'm being a little impatient right now. I started the rubbing part late. So what you really want to do is put the rub on and let it set probably a good hour or more, maybe in the fridge. Because what you'll see is this rub will turn into a paste. You can kind of see it here. I sprinkle a little bit more rub on so it's not the exact effect I want you to see. But the longer you leave this on, it'll draw some of the moisture out of the brisket itself and turn the rub into a paste, which of course allows it to stick a little better. And you can see that's kind of happening here. And maybe if I lift it up, you see more of a paste going on. So anyway, putting this on a little prematurely, but it's not gonna hurt anything. So if you notice, this is the meat side. I have the fat cap on the bottom. So when I pull this up, some of the rub is going to stay on the foil, even though I use a non-stick foil. So I'm going to put fat cap down, so I'm going to lay it down this way, and that way the fat cap's on the top, and then I have a little rub left to kind of top off the back. And being that this is the egg, I'm not going to do any flipping. I'm just going to let it roll out the entire time. But what we'll end up with is just a nice bark. You know, like I said, ideally you want to let this set probably another hour. Excuse me, 30 minutes. So total of an hour, hour and a half, and we're ready to go. So anyway, I got my oak and everything on here, smoking pretty good. I'm gonna drop this right in the center. You know, there's a debate about fat cap up, fat cap down. I'm just gonna go with the fat cap down. I'm gonna take this little bit of rub here and actually sprinkle on top, because all we want is a nice good bark when we finish here, and that whole sticky process will happen throughout the cook as well. I'm not used to doing this with my left hand, but making do. And get all that in there good. Got a little corner here. You want to try to get that covered also. So we're gonna set that in 225. Don't want to go to waste. And gonna let that boy roll out. So we'll see what we're looking like here in a few hours. Okay, guys, here we are. I got the blue smoke going. I actually don't even want to open it up, but I'm going to, just so we can see how we're doing. So let's see, we're about 2 hours in. I suspect I got about at least 2 to 3 more hours, but just wanted to kind of check, see how it's going. It's looking nice. Nice color, nice moisture. Okay. Very happy with that. So here we are, 2 hours in. We'll be checking temperature here about another hour and a half, 2 hours. Here we are, guys, about 4 hours in. Sitting at 225. Let's see how we're looking. 4 hours in. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Looking good. Notice all the moisture. Not missing anything by not wrapping. And I'm gonna have a nice good crust on there. So that's it, 4 hours, and another hour I'll check the temperature. Alright guys, I have to apologize for not having many more shots on the grill. It got dark and the video I took was just too dark and didn't make any sense to show you. But here's the finished product after I think 6.5 hours. Again, it's not about time, it's about the temperature. I saw 195 on the majority of the brisket, so it was time to take it off, and that's what I did. So what you'll see here is actually when I trim the brisket, I'm telling my wife to focus on the brisket and not me at this point. Just remember the angle and the direction of the grain, because you definitely want to cut against the grain, just like any steak or any meat, that you don't want to cut with the grain, because that's when you get long stringy strands versus the shorter strands, which makes it more tender and allows you to have a more enjoyable experience with the meat itself. But if you notice, as I'm cutting there, that crust is a true crust. It's hard. It's flaking off, as you can see. It's not soaked as sometimes happens when you wrap. And not saying you should never wrap. I mean, nothing is wrong with wrapping. If that's what you prefer to do, then fine. But I like to see the crust and have a little bite of the crust. And thinking I need to get a new knife there. It's not that it's not that sharp. It's not cutting through like I want it to. But as you can see, that brisket came out pretty nice. Getting some large chunks, large slices there. And all the steam. And this is after it rested for about 30-35 minutes. So here you can see the crust and see the meat. I think I dropped the fork there. See how it just bends over like that? How tender that is. So tender, so hot. Still fresh off the grill, so burning my fingers there. And I gotta do the obligatory taste there. as the chef. And as you can see, my daughter and my wife are hanging around for their taste as well. But this came out very nice, very good, very tender. Did everything I wanted to do except for the smoke ring. But outside of the smoke ring, this was some good brisket. So hot I can't hold on to it. Fall apart tender. It's my beautiful wife. I got the thumbs up. Can't ask for more than that. Tender. Fall apart. But not overly tender. See the pull? Not overly tender. That's the key thing. You don't want it to be too tender like a roast beef. Here's how we like to enjoy our brisket on a brisket sandwich with some slaw and potato salad. And of course a nice dill pickle on top. And the star of the show there, the brisket. This was a fun meal. Very good meal. Hey guys, coming to you from Tampa. I'm out here working, but wanted to finish the video on the brisket. Came out well. Had the color and everything that I wanted. The crust was like I wanted. Wasn't too soggy. Got it done in I think a little over 6 hours. And all the flavor, tenderness, and everything was there. The only thing that I wish was better about the green egg itself was the fact that you don't get a smoke ring as much on the egg that you do with other smokers. Not quite sure why that is. Got to figure that part out. But outside of wanting to see that ring, the flavor was there. The rub was right. Timing was right. Took it right off at 195, probably like 198. Came off the grill. So long story short, it came out well. I wanted to show you guys a simple way to make a good brisket. And of course, once you make it once or twice, you figure out different things that you can tweak it to your liking. This is the way I like it. Works for us, works for my family. I changed it last time and was told to change it back as far as how I made it. So it goes to show you how good this one is. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Wanted to make a simple, quick video for you guys, and hope this taught you something about brisket. Down in Tampa working, kind of overdressed for my videos, but wanted to finish this video so you guys had something to reference if you're going to try or would like to try brisket. So hope it worked out for you, works out for you, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.